Welcome back, fellow shop rats. Today we're actually back on the Stitches Challenger, and we're going to be working on the pistol grip shifter and getting this thing ready for the car. I know it's a big segue from what we've been doing on the car, but I wanted to do something fun, and I wanted to use my new buffer, and I wanted to get the handles put up. Well, there's just going to be stuff, is what I'm trying to say. So don't go away. Watch the show intro. It'll only be 5 seconds long. I'm Mike.
This is My Car's Shop.
If you're not familiar with the Stitches Challenger, there are 75 or 175 or a whole bunch of episodes on this project. We've been hand fabricating all the repair parts, We've been hand fabricating all the repair parts for this car just using raw sheet metal. We've done rear frame rails, we've done all the floor pans, we've done all kind of stuff. So if you haven't seen that, go check out the playlist. It starts from when I was banging the roof out on this car way back 3 years ago, before we got it in here in the shop 2 years ago and got all of the framework done to put it on the rotisserie. We've come a long way on it. We have a ways to go yet, but it's much more of a car now than it was. A little history behind this car. I bought this car from a very good friend of mine who salvaged it out of a junkyard. It was in a pile with other cars on top of it. And so you can just imagine it was a train wreck. And it's one of those projects around here that most people would have deemed beyond repair. So we have put cheap Sherman quarter panels on this car. On this side, we have the one for the other side. These frame rails are handmade. We did salvage one small piece of the factory unibody, but otherwise, every bit of that frame rail on that side was handmade, just simply using tipping dies on a bead roller and a shrinker stretcher. It's a double material in many places, much stronger actually than a factory unibody. We have built trunk floor extensions. You can see more of the framework. Trunk floor extensions, I should say. Gas tank supports. All of these floor pans in the car are handmade, or the two back there are recycled out of a Charger. We have made a custom aluminum top for our console. We've just done a bunch of work to this car. We had recently done a cost comparison on this, on the value of the things that we bartered for, that we had donated to the channel, the things we fabricated and things that we had purchased, what that value would have been had we done it traditionally versus what our actual costs are for the way that we do things here at My Car Shop. Had we done things traditionally, we'd have about $15,000 in this car, which includes the purchase price of the car, as well as the purchase price of the 440 for it, and the 4-speed, and the pedals, and all the stuff we have. What we actually have into the car, including the price of the motor, the 4-speed transmission, clutch pedals, all that stuff. We have $2,500 in car, including the purchase price. So give you an idea, just a little nutshell of how we do things around the shop here and how much money you can save if you choose to take this approach. So yes, we have a savings of $11,520 because of the way we do things here. Yeah, it takes a lot longer, but there's the joy and the satisfaction of making it all yourself, and the joy and the satisfaction of saving a pile of money. I sometimes forget just how many more viewers we have here on the channel at this point, and how many people aren't familiar with what the projects are all about. So I thought it was good to take a minute and just share with you the whole point. There is a playlist on every car that we have here, and we share everything in detail. My Car Shop is about spending the day with us here in the shop, working on whatever it is that we happen to be working on. And oh, guys, I did it. I'm sorry. Would somebody please flip the compressor on? I forgot. This is what we have for a pistol grip shifter for the Challenger. And yes, we know that this is not the correct shifter for a Challenger with a console. This is actually a B-body non-console shifter. But as always around the shop, it's about using what we have. I've actually seen E-bodies with these pistol grips in them, and I kind of like them. I'm a really tall guy, 6'3", and the shifter that normally is way up here is hard for me to reach in an E-body anyway, so we'll have this one in there and sweep it back further and make it easier for me to reach the shifter. So that'll be cool. And, you know, it's 2 bolts, so if it doesn't work out for some reason, we can always replace it. So I don't want to hear people saying, well, you should have done it right, or that's the wrong one. You know what? It's my car. I'm going to build it the way I want with the parts I have, because I'm saving piles and boatloads and crap loads of money. Some days the technology just wants to fight. Third time I've taken a video of this because my microphone kept dying and I finally figured that out. So hopefully this works. Anyway, what I was trying to say 27.6 times is using these buffers can be a health hazard that you may not realize. If you see back here, I've been using this a while. There's all kinds of particulates and hairballs. And well, imagine that you inhaled that and then in the middle of the night you're be coughing up hairballs. So make sure you wear a mask when you're using these, whether you're using a wool pad buffer on a car or one of these loose cloth or tight cloth buffers with these compounds and stuff. Um, there's a lot more stuff in the air than you realize, and you can end up with a sore throat or some lung problems and stuff like that if you're using it on a regular basis. And I'm not Mr. Safety Conscious overall. I try to protect my eyes as much as possible, and my hearing I'm always worried about as a musician. I don't like wearing gloves. I hate gloves. You know that if you've been around the channel for any length of time at all. I only wear them when absolutely necessary because I'm very, very tactile. I'm also very careful because I don't wear gloves. So I don't usually bite myself too often. And today I probably will. But anyway, I wanted to just mention the safety element of that before we get into this. So make sure you put your mask on if you're going to do any buffing for any length of time because you'll feel it. I promise. So we're going to start over here with our stitched wheel with our aggressive compound and go at this and start cleaning this up a little bit. One thing you're going to want to be careful of with anything that's plated, I got a little carried away right here and the plating started coming off. I'm starting to get into the brass, to the copper or the brass or whatever that is. So you don't want to get too aggressive. This is coming out nice. We could send this out and get it replated, but what for? We'll get this side cleaned up and this edge and then we'll see what we've got. So it's looking pretty good. It's just rough polished right now. Being very careful not to get through to that brass underneath. Got things polished up the best I can. So we're going to go to the medium compound now, which is also supposed to be used on a stitched wheel and not a loose wheel. So a stitched wheel has stitching around it and a loose wheel doesn't. You can see the difference in how they respond. So we'll go ahead and go after it with this now and take it to the next level before we hit the final polish. Looking good. I'm getting a little more aggressive down in here because this is below the shift boot anyway. That gives me a feel for where that copper or brass is under it. I should know what that is. We're obviously not a finished polish yet, but we're getting there. A little bit thin right there. That's on the driver's side, the boot just above. So I got to be careful in there. These were not plated the best in the world, that's for sure. Now we're going to move on to the green compound. The green compound is for a floppy wheel. It's a loose leaf wheel. That's what it's called. So we'll go ahead and do that. So we've gone through with all of our compounds now and done all that. Yeah, it's looking really good, but it's still got some haze in it. And a lot of that is just compound that needs to be taken off. What I generally do is take my mother's mag and aluminum polish, or I have another mother's polish, and I will just put some of that on there. Yes, I'm using my fingers. Jimmy crept in a corner, and I don't care, that kind of stuff. And get that all over there, and I'll let that dry for a while. I'll probably take a cloth and polish it a little bit, and then we'll put it back on the polishing wheel. It's done its voodoo that it do for a while now, so the next step is I take and start chemically, well, I let it chemically do its thing, and then I'll take a little bit on the rag and I just start really just kind of polishing it by hand. And you'll see black coming off and getting on the rag, and that means it's doing its job. Takes a while, but I find the hand buffer can't do it all. So I like to get it cleaned up as best I can this way, and then I'll put it back on that buffer with the mothers. And that usually brings it up to a nice buff. Oh yeah, she's starting to look like a thing now. I'm happy with that. One little spot right there I want to work on. Just a little teeny bit there. Yeah, good. It's a spot where the brass is coming through. So, I mean, it's old. Thing is, can't expect there to be a whole lot of chrome plating left on this thing. That's all I was waiting for, was to get this all spit polished up. They're pretty nice. These are from Brewers Performance. I'm not endorsed by them or anything, but they're good company. My experience, they've been very helpful, and bought quite a bit of stuff from them now for the 4-speed, and that's what they specialize in, is MOPAR 4-speed stuff. If you're not familiar with Brewers Performance, check them out. So we just got like 3 screws to put in here to complete the ensemble, and we'll get that done here. I love it. It looks so good. Look at that baby. I love it. That's going to look so good. One of these days, I'm going to get a shifter boot ordered, and we're going to get a real feel for what it looks like. But yeah, I'm thrilled. It cleaned up beautifully. She's so beautiful. The interior of the car's a mess from doing that fender, so we got to get this cleaned up. But for now, you know what I'm saying? That just looks outstanding. That turned out so good. Those yeah, those breweries replacement handles really are nice. It's a nice little kit. The top that Chris and I made for the console looks great. Everything is filthy dirty, of course, because of dirt in the shop and all that stuff, but no complaints. I mean, there was a door on this car. It might almost look like a car. Maybe we should put our 426 wedge in that instead of the golden mullet. No, I'm really thrilled with the way that turned out. It cleaned up beautifully. No, it's not perfect. It's really old. We know it's not the right one, as I said, but I like it. I like the way it's going to work. I actually set one of the bucket seats in there that I have for this car. I don't have original buckets, but I set one in there that I have, and it's going to be pretty cool. Definitely pretty excited about that. Well, thanks for spending the day here in the shop. It wasn't the day, it was just a few hours I only had. But that's the way it goes. We're taking another little bite out of a project. That's something that's done now. I don't need to mess with, so I can wrap that up It's all cleaned up and ready to go, and I can put it aside, and when I need it for fitment, I can pull it back out. But I won't need to clean that when we're ready to put this together. It's already all done. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Hit the bell so you receive those notifications. Tell other people about the channel. We try to do something a little different here than what's done on most other channels. We do everything that we possibly can by hand fabricating, doing things on the cheap, and buying as absolutely little as possible, which means we get super creative in finding solutions for challenges that are before us, even on the Challenger. Oh, I almost forgot. It's also super important around here, and you don't want to forget because without it, life just isn't the same. Rock!